Welcome back to Healthy Living for Life. Dr. Perry is back and is going to talk about how to create a family medical history. Thanks for coming back, Dr. Perry.
Thanks again.
So when you are approaching your family, what's a good way to do that to bring up the whole topic of creating a family medical history?
I think first we're just finding a good opportunity, maybe when a bunch of families gathered so different minds can maybe share and help make it easier to recall maybe the disorders people have dealt with. So maybe like at a big family gathering, bring it up. But it's also important to be sensitive because a lot of people, these health issues that they maybe have dealt with are really private, even they may not want to share with their own family members.
Sure.
And so just being really sensitive to your family members when you're asking about this. And I think it would be important to explain why you're asking. Not that you're just probing and trying to find out what's going on in their life, but really that you're curious about creating this medical history for your family so that, you know, explain to them that, hey, I'm doing this so that I can like prevent risks in my own life. And I think if you share the reason you're doing, they might be more open to sharing why or what the health risks that they've had in their life.
That's great. And what kind of things should you learn? What do you need to gather to put into that family medical history?
I mean, it's important to find out, like we've mentioned before, you know, 3 generations. So you want to gather information from grandparents, aunts, uncles, siblings, parents, but it's also important from them to find out what diseases any of them had, to find out the ages when they developed the different diseases, talk to them about lifestyles, because, you know, some of these diseases maybe aren't so much genetic, but maybe just lifestyle-wise is the reason they had this disease, so to be able to determine, like, well, you know, certain family members lived a very unhealthy life, maybe that's why they developed this disease. Maybe other medical conditions they might have had. It's also important, like alcohol, drugs, just trying to get some other factors that might contribute to disease and let that be known to your family.
So that's a lot of information. How do you go about organizing all of that?
I think you can organize it any way that you find that you can organize. You know, some way that you're able to keep track of it. You know, either by family member or by generation. There's templates you can look at online that can also help you organize them.
Okay, and you mentioned too the being sensitive part. So what if family members are a little bit reluctant to share that information, or what if they just don't know some of those details? What do you do then?
I mean, if they don't know the details, but they're willing to share, I mean, and they're still alive, you could definitely ask those family members, you know, if they'd be willing to get their medical records. If they're already deceased, and you could try to review obituaries. It's probably going to be difficult to access old medical records on someone that's deceased, but if that's a possibility, looking into that to see if a grandparent, like what diseases they had. Those would be some of the main ways to do that. But I think it's important just to be very sensitive. Like for the family member does not want to share, maybe by explaining why it's important to you, that they'll be more open.
Okay. What about those folks who are adopted? It seems like that might be tougher. What's your advice for those people who are interested in learning about their family medical history?
People that are adopted, I mean, they need to reach out to their adoptive parents to see if the adoptive parents know anything about their biological parents. Okay. If they don't know anything about the biological parents, they could try to reach out to the adoptive agencies to see if they can then find out who their biological parents were. This may be difficult to do. You can also, if you cannot gather information, you have no idea what your family history is because of being adopted, you can at least now start from day one now and create a family history about you moving forward for your future generations.
Yeah, that's great. So I've heard the term family medical tree. Is that the same thing as a family medical history, or are those different?
It's the same thing, it's just a different format. Basically a family medical tree is just more of a tree format, like a graph, like how you organize the data and the information.
Okay, and then obviously, if you're gathering all of this health information about your family, that's sensitive information that if they were even reluctant giving it to you, you want to protect that privacy. So how do you go about making sure that that information is secure?
I mean, definitely keep it just in a safe place wherever you keep your files, and don't share this information with other people. If your family has shared this with you, you shouldn't be sharing it with friends or other people, maybe not even other relatives unless you've really gotten the permission to share it with them, but definitely just keep it in a safe place. It's important too, once you've had that information, and if you do have a primary care, to get your past medical family history on your records updated. Because once that's updated in your medical chart, then now that information's in a secure spot that won't get lost.
Okay. So if someone is looking at their family medical history and they're seeing trends, maybe there are multiple people in the family with the same sort of conditions, and it's alarming for them, what should they do?
They should definitely share it with their primary care physician or any of their physicians. This will allow the physician to realize, to recognize, like, is this a trend that is hereditary that we need to worry about and do earlier screening? For instance, people that have colon cancer in their family, colon cancer screening is typically at age 50, but if you have a family history of people with colon cancer in the early 50s or earlier, we'll actually move the colon cancer screening recommendations to 10 years prior to when their family member had colon cancer. So say if your father had colon cancer at age 51, we might start screening you at age 41 instead of waiting until age 50.
Okay, and so that's the main thing, is just talking with your doctor about some of those trends.
Yeah, if you're recognizing a trend, it's very important to share that, because otherwise your physician might not know to test for some additional, or do additional tests or do additional screening. But had they known about that history, they might definitely pursue additional tests.
Okay, and it sounds like too that this would take a lot of time for somebody to put together. Do you have some advice about the time it takes?
I mean, it could take a lot of time, and so I just recommend starting it earlier and gathering this information. It might take years, before family members are open about sharing all this information. So I definitely just start earlier so that you have the time to gather everything you need.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Perry, for being here, and I'd like to thank all of my guests for being on today's show. Until next week, we hope you stay fit, stay well, and stay healthy for life with Healthy Living for Life. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Healthy Living for Life is brought to you by Mountain Pacific Quality Health. We'd love to hear from you. If you have suggestions for future programs, visit our website at mpqhf.org or call us at 406-443-4020. You can also catch us on YouTube by visiting our website and clicking on the YouTube icon. Special thanks to Fire Tower Coffee House and Roasters. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions.